To stop anytime soon. Now you noticed a little bit of that sunshine peeking through. I know it's not necessarily sunshine for everybody. We still have a few snow flurries out there. I'll show you where those are in just a second, but know that another round of snow moves in tonight. That's going to prompt another 19 first alert weather day headed into tomorrow, but we've got Saturday as an alert day, Monday and Tuesday of next week as alert days as well. So you can just kind of see how active this pattern is going to be, especially as we continue on through the rest of this week and likely into early next week as well. Let's talk about tomorrow, because this is the first alert day that we're going to have upcoming within this string of them. And you'll notice it's another system snow opportunity. So kind of like what we saw yesterday afternoon, it's more area wide. It will likely bring areas of 1 to about 4 inches of snow when you're talking about the widespread impact, likely a little bit more the closer to the lake shore that you get, because we will likely see some lake enhancement as the system starts to wrap up tomorrow. But do expect there to be some travel impacts, not only for the morning commute time, but likely as we continue on through the rest of the afternoon as well. But for the most part, most of the snow has stopped here across northeast Ohio. The one exception east of Cleveland, we knew this was likely going to be the case as we kind of wrapped up the morning and looked ahead towards the early afternoon hours. You can see this lake effect band, and I'm putting the radar in motion. It's starting to lift up towards the north. So while eastern Lake County and Ashtabula County are dealing with the snow now, it's just a couple hours probably left out of this before eventually this lake effect snows out of here, because we're getting a wind direction change, and that will allow us to sit a little quieter as we go through the rest of this afternoon. And yes, it may feature just a little bit more of that sunshine as well. I wish I could say it featured more warmer temperatures. Unfortunately, just not in the cards for us. We've got another bout of Arctic air on the way next week. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a few minutes. As we look ahead towards early next week, we've issued the alert days already because we know these are going to be impactful weather days for us. Let's start with tomorrow. Tomorrow is a system snow event, so that means it's a widespread snow, and it may have some lighter snow associated with it, especially if you are south of the lakeshore, but there will be a lake effect component with it, so that's where some of those totals may inch closer to that 3 to 4 inch mark by the time this event starts to wrap up. So keep that in mind. If you're in our primary, secondary snow belt, you may be on the higher end of that spectrum as we go through the second half of tomorrow. Then we get a little bit of a break on Friday, but attention starts to turn towards Saturday, because we've got another round of system snow that's going to roll through, and this one is going to bring us some relatively milder air. Temperatures will be a little closer to average for where we should be for this time of the year, but I would expect that there are going to be some travel impacts Saturday. And then by the time we get into early next week, we've got another bout of Arctic air that's going to be rolling through Monday into Tuesday, and this will likely be the coldest of the air that we've seen in quite some time. I mean, we could be talking about temperatures, especially through the overnights, that could be into the negatives. So you can only imagine what that's going to end up doing to your wind chill. So when you look at your snow tracker, you'll see kind of these different systems rolling in, and I put the alert days on there just so you can kind of get an idea here. This is going to be a very widespread impact as we go through the day tomorrow. Pretty much everybody has the opportunity of picking up on some of this activity. Same can be said for Saturday. Now by Sunday, the system snows out of here, and then you're just dealing with some lake effects, so that will be a little bit more scattered. Not everybody's seeing the impact of that, and certainly we'll have to see who could tack on some of that additional snowfall by the time we wrap up the weekend. But sunshine out there today, courtesy of high pressure just to the south. This is our next area of low pressure. Again, it's a clipper system, so it's bringing in some cooler, drier air for us. That's why you see snowfall totals to the south, about 1 to 2 inches on average. And then you see our secondary snow belt and our primary snow belt, where you may see more so that 3 to 4 plus inches possible as we kind of go through the day tomorrow. Here's your future view. We've got a little lake effect still out there, eastern communities. We said that was going to happen, and as winds start to change direction later today, that lake effect band starts to lift to the north, and we stay very quiet through the rest of this afternoon, enjoying a little bit more of that sunshine. But clouds will roll in late tonight, and then here comes your system snow. So by the time we get into that morning commute tomorrow, I would expect there to be snow falling across the area. It's going to stick. It's probably going to cause some travel issues for us to get our Thursday started. And then you can start to see that lake effect enhancement as we kind of go through the day tomorrow, especially into the afternoon and evening. And that's where you're going to start tacking in some of those higher snowfall totals, primary and secondary snow belts. We'll talk more about the cold air coming in for the weekend and beyond coming up in the next half hour. bit of relief maybe from some of that colder, drier air. You might get a little bit of it as we kind of go through the end of this week, but unfortunately by early next week, if you thought this week was cold, brace yourself, because temperatures are really going to bottom out as we look ahead towards especially Monday into Tuesday. Daytime highs single digits, wind chill values likely well into the negatives. So those are additional 19 first alert weather days that we'll have just beyond Thursday into Friday. So, or Thursday into Saturday, I should say. So let's walk you through these two. Again, we've talked a little bit about tomorrow's system. It's a system snow. Snowfall totals generally expected around 1 to 4 inches. I know that's a relatively wide range. Lower the farther south you are, a little higher closer to the lake shore, because we will get some lake enhancement out of this. As we look ahead towards Saturday, this is another system snow event. So that means everybody has an opportunity to pick up on some of this snow. You may get a little bit of light mixing, especially early on. I can't rule that out just because temperatures will be a little bit warmer. But the system in and of itself is passing us by just to the south. So we are going to be on the colder, snowier side of it. It's just a matter right now of deciphering whether or not we get a little bit of that mixing or we stay completely as snow. So we'll keep you tuned on any additional snowfall totals that we'll see out of this as we get past tomorrow's system. But expect travel impacts. That is kind of a given with this system snow that we're going to be watching the next several days. As for today, we've had a little bit of that light lake effect. We expected that to be the case across parts of Lake and Ashtabula County, but you'll notice as this radar loop kind of fast forwards through, a lot of that snow is now starting to push offshore, and that means we're going to slowly start to clear out and quiet down a little bit as we kind of head through the rest of this afternoon, which isn't a bad thing for us. We do need a little bit of a break from some of this snow, and we could certainly use a break from some of the cold. Temperatures right now sit anywhere from about the low to mid-teens, close to 20 degrees still out east. But those wind chill values, we just can't catch a break. We'll talk more about that wind chill factor Monday into Tuesday of this next week coming up in just a few minutes.